Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, the Evil Dungeon Master channel here on YouTube. Today we're going to be sitting down looking at a role-playing game that I have particularly enjoyed quite a bit. It's a fun game that's way out of print, hard to get sometimes. I think you might be able to find it on print on demand. I'm not positive about that. I know you can get books on eBay and Amazon. I've seen them. They generally do go for a little bit. But with that said, before we get into that, I got to get a couple things out of the way. TheEvilDM.com is my website, and AskTheDM at TheEvilDM.com is my email address if you want to email me something. Don't forget to hit like on the video because it'll help encourage more videos, and also comment on the video. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are about these things and these games. So now that we can do that, now that's out of the way, we can get on to things today. I was watching a video today on RPG River's channel. Good guy, go over and check him out. He was talking about the Supernatural Impala from the Supernatural TV show from Supernatural, and it was on the CW and the WB and CW, so later went on to that. Anyway, he was talking about that, and he was talking about the game itself, and it kind of reminded me that I really do love that game. I love the TV show and how it started. It was a Monster of the Week format, and they actually made a role-playing game for it by Margaret Weiss. And of course, Margaret Weiss, when they first started making games, the company's no longer around, as far as I know, for making games. That is, they used to get a lot of licenses like Serenity, Battlestar Galactica, Supernatural, Demon Hunters, and a bunch of other ones that they had for the Cortex Classic system, which I thought was great. I used to call it like Savage Worlds' little brother. It was kind of a similar vibe to Savage Worlds, but it got me thinking because I was playing a little while back. I was playing a solo game when I was thinking my group was going to use these rules, but instead we went over to Mini 6. So I was just using these particular rules here, and let me get into that for you. The Supernatural role-playing game. Here we are. It was made based on the TV show, the first 5 seasons. So we're talking about 2009, 10, around there, maybe even 8 is when this came out, by Margaret Weiss. It's a system that uses multiple types of dice. You take an attribute and you take a skill, generally, you put them together and you roll. And then you have to beat a target number and or your opposing defender's number to hit them. So we can get into that. Let me just change this around just a little bit. Let me make myself smaller there. Okay, so Supernatural, for making a character, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Making a character. On page 26 or 27 on the PDF, it talks about making a character and starting a character. Now, your GM has to determine or tell you what level your characters are going to be. Now, you could be a rookie starting out. Your hunter is just starting out, just still pretty new to things. He's either good at a few things and competent at a lot of things, or just sucks a whole bunch. Age doesn't matter. A rookie is a rookie regardless. Someone can get into hunting these things whether they're 20-something or they're 50-something. Everybody starts somewhere. So now that we got that out of the way, the GM could choose a rookie, a veteran, and a seasoned hunter as the starting points for the game. Now, people like Sam and Dean would probably be, at this point, if you're looking at the show overall, they're going to be like a seasoned hunter, maybe even a champion hunter if that existed. Veteran hunters would be more like someone that's been in the rough for a while, a couple years down the road, 5-6 years or something. A rookie, again, would be someone that's just starting out. Generally, when I've played these games, and I'll tell you along the way how the GM kind of did it, and I've played these at Gen Con and things like that, had a fun time with it. But when I was playing in a home group one time with this, way back when in Pennsylvania, the GM started us out as rookies, so it gave us some room to breathe and to grow when it came to this game. So a rookie starts with 42 attribute points and 62 skill points, but no trait points. And traits, we'll get into that, and skills and all that stuff. We'll talk about that in just a moment as we're going through everything, so you can get an idea. So, concept. You can lock down a concept or a basic way what your character is going to be like. What turned him into a hunter, pretty much. Maybe you were I don't know, a ghost affected your life, and that's how you started hunting down supernatural. Maybe uh, someone died, and that caused you to go and to become a hunter of the supernatural. There's a lot of things that can happen that can make you into a hunter. And you have to realize this book was written as if it was like a journal of one of the people on the show. I'm thinking it was, sometimes it has like a theme of like Bobby, uh, his voice. Sometimes it sounds like it could be Sam. Sometimes it could be Dean. They just wanted to make it look like it was a hunter, like a hunter's journal. That was this whole book was. That's why you got little papers with stickies on it and a rough edge around it. But anyway, for your attributes, we have, as we can see, the character sheet here on the right hand side of the screen: agility, strength, vitality, alertness, intelligence, and willpower. Now, strength is brawn, basically your strength. Let you kick down doors, bench press things, strength, what strength usually does. Vitality is your toughness and health. You could probably think of that as constitution, D&D terms. Alertness would be maybe intelligence. I'm sorry. Alertness would be more like lets you observe, understand. Like if you had a perception or some type of search or something like that, or a notice. This is where alert would be. Intelligence is your thinking, your reasoning, your remembering. Not exactly what you think, but it is pretty much simple. Willpower combines grit and force of personality, so it's not like wisdom. Like your willpower, your resisting intimidation, your torture, hardship might actually happen. You also might convince someone to do something through sheer charisma, and this is what willpower is used for. Now, to set these things up, you have so many points to distribute. Now, since we're playing a rookie hunter here, we have 42 attribute points to distribute when it comes to making this character. You can use the points 1-for-1 for a die up until, I believe, it is a D8. And you can't go any lower than a D4. So you basically start at 4 points already there. So you have to spend the 4 points to get a D4. Can't be 0. So you have to just spend them as they're going. So when you're doing point for point, you have to remember that it has to go in increments of dice. 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 12. I know I said it was D8 that you can go your highest, but a rookie can't go any higher than a D12. So you have those dice to choose from. When it gets over D12, it starts back at D2, D4, D6, and it goes and so on and so forth. So choose your points wisely. You can't have odd numbers, so you're going to have to just choose your points wisely when it comes to making this character up. All right, now that we got that out of the way, you can split these up however you want. Maybe we say, D4, D6, D6. We'll do, how many points do we have? I forgot already. 42. We'll do a D8, and then we'll add a D8 here and a D10, and I believe that should be what we need for 42 points. Let's see, 10, 16, 24, 32, 42. Perfect. We got 42 points there. Boom. We are done with that. Don't forget, we can always name our character. Jake Reynolds. This is the character I was making up. A concept rookie hunter. And then we can just put a description of what he looks like here if we want to when it comes to that. When it comes to that. So next thing we need to do is we need to figure out our derivative or derived attributes, which we'll get into that now. Derived attributes. This part's the easy part when it comes to doing it because you're basically just putting dice together. So you already picked your attributes already, as we could see. D4, D6, D6, D8, D8, and D10. Initiative is rolled at the start of combat or any time that you need to have an initiative contest. When that happens, you grab your agility. So our agility is a D4 plus, that's really small, a D4 plus your alertness die, which is a D8. So you have a D4, a D8 for your initiative. So every time you roll initiative, you roll a D4 and D8, add the two of them up, and that's your initiative score. Or like we just did when we played in my home group, we just rolled a D10. And for the party sides, I guess he was doing kind of like a AD&D when it came to it. I don't know. All right, so life points is how much damage you can take before, dying. Life, health. When your hunter gets punched, clawed, or ripped open, or drained by unholy magic, or suffers any kind of bad touching, marking off points of stun, non-lethal damage, and exhaustion, and wounds, which is serious and lethal. When these totals of your character's life points, he drops and shows the universal ultra ragdoll physical engine or physics engine. They go and die. So for life points, you have to take your let's see here. It's the vitality and willpower. So vitality is a d6 and willpower is a d10. It is 16 points. That's how many life points you have, or hit points that you have. Now they have a mistake here in the book. If you have a d8 and a d10, it's 16 life points. So be careful. Some of the math in this book is a little messed up, and I don't think they ever put an errata out for it. So who knows? Endurance keeps you from going down when you probably should. For example, when you've been whacked upside the head, or when you've done a 6 back-to-back with a bunch of shots of purple nurgle. Record will and vitality dice for your endurance, modified by any traits. And traits are basically assets or complications, but we'll get into that later on. So for now, it's going to be the willpower of d10 plus the vitality of a d6. So when you have to roll for endurance type maneuvers or anything involving endurance, you have to roll a d10 and a d6, or whatever your scores are, and add them together. Great. Now, last thing we have to do is resistance. Is like endurance, but applies to fighting off infections, cold, or demonic virus. It did happen in the show. It is right. Write down your character's vitality dice twice. Separate a plus sign and modify for any traits. So vitality is a d6. I get d6 plus d6. Whoops, we added an extra line in there. But yeah, so there's the basics of our character so far. And now we have to go on to our traits and stuff like that. And we'll get into that as we're going through these pages, because we're not done just yet. So when it comes to traits, think of them as advantages and disadvantages. Things that make your character more three-dimensional. Assets are your advantages, and complications are your disadvantages. When it comes to a rookie character, you get no points to spend in this at all. So you actually have to, if you want, take complications to get the points back. Again, these things work in die codes, but it starts at a D2 as opposed to a D4. And every complication you get, D4, D6, whatever, D2, you get that many points to spend on assets. Now, if we hop over to page, I think it's 33, we can look at traits and skills. Now, for my character, as far as traits and skills are concerned, I actually had picked them out ahead of time so we can get into this a little bit more quick here, because I wanted to show you guys how this worked. Now, when you go through these things, you can look at them, read them, and basically here's a list of them all right here. And for me, I decided, since my guy was basically a new character, I was gonna pick like a new thing, like something make new to the job or something like that. And you can actually make up your own if you need to, as long as the GM gives you permission. So that's really up to you how you want to handle that. The ones that are marked with a pentagram, see there's little check marks and there's pentagrams there. Let me get that bigger so you can see it. Well, anyway, the pentagrams here basically means they're supernatural powers. They give you some type of ability, like medium, mystic protection, premonitions, like Sam had in the TV show in the beginning. You have a spirit guide, ESP, danger sense. With these ones, you have to ask your GM before you pick them, because if the GM doesn't want to play with supernatural abilities for characters, you can't pick them. So just check with them first in case, something like this is you want to play. So, all right. So we're looking at this chart, and I was thinking, for when we go to complications, those are assets, but let's go to complications so we can see those, because we're going to need to take a few of those before we actually take on some points to pick some assets. So we're looking through this list, And they have things like absent-minded, addiction, which could be anything, any type of drug. You have to look up in the actual thing what it is. Amnesia, anger issues, blind, combat paralysis, compulsive liar, a coward. These are just some things that are here listed. And again, you can pick out what you want is to make yours make yours up. So you can, make it more flavorful to your character. Now, I picked weak stomach because he's new and he had seen some weird things happen for him. So we go to weak stomach, and where is weak stomach? Wrong side of the law. Weak stomach. You get grossed out by just about anything. You become ill, feel nauseous, or faint. When in the presence of blood, gore, or injury more serious than a paper cut, your trait die is added to the difficulty of all physical actions. Ooh. So we put that page 50. We put down a D4. So remember I said when you were rolling, sometimes you'll add an attribute, a skill, and then a trait. This is where the traits come into it and will throw a wrench into things. So we got 4 points so far. Let me see what else he's gonna pick here. I think I picked Haunted by Past. Yes, Haunted. I picked Haunted as the next one. Oh, that's Hunted. I thought I picked Haunted. Haunted by Past. I picked a Haunted by Past because I thought it'd be kind of interesting in here, but I think I picked it out of I decided to just make it up. Haunted by Past. And I took another D4 on that. So these are only minor things. I mean, you could pick anywhere from up to D12 for some of these things. Again, I was playing this solo, so I just kind of picked things that made for the story. And Haunted by Past is because when his character was involved in a situation with a ghost. And let me see if I can get his backstory here. Jake grew up in a small town where he witnessed the supernatural firsthand. After a horrific encounter with a ghost that nearly took out his family, he was forced into hunting. He is still new to the trade, but learns very quickly. His motivation is to protect people from the same darkness that nearly destroyed his life. So he's haunted by the past in a sense that, let's see, Jake still suffers from the trauma of the ghostly encounter that led him to become a hunter. He might experience moments of doubt, fear, or visions of his past that affect his focus. So he might, in the middle of a hunt, something might trigger him and he might jar a memory of something that a ghost did to him or did to his family. Let's see here. Now we can go pick out some of his really good things. So his assets here. For assets, we can do something like, do we have one for, we can make him a light sleeper for D4 because he's able to sleep lightly. And then we could do, let's see here, fast on your feet. And we'll take a look at fast on our feet, see what we can have for him. Let's see. So we actually can't do that one. I can do a D2 with that one because some of them only let you do D2 or a D6, as you can see, unless it's a dash. So like this one's a slash, what only allows you to do a D2. So I'm going to pick a D2 for that one. Fast on your feet, he gets to go an extra 5 feet. Now we need to look for another one. Let's see here. I'm going to pick higher education and give him a D2 on that one. Perfect. School was good to you. Unlike most things, your trait die is added to the rolls when recalling information that you have studied. So this is perfect. He's in the learning phase right now. He was good at school. He's learning from his mentor, and when he goes in the field, he can roll to see if he gets an extra D2, which you do a coin flip, or a D6 and do odds evens to add it to the die roll. Pretty good. So now that we have our character rounded out here we can go to skills. Now for skills, we have 62 points as a rookie. And let's get skills that will work for him. And skills were on page 50, I believe, here in the book. Yes, skills start on page 50, but technically 51. So they're general skills, and then there's specialties and things like that. D2 to D12 would be your skills. And obviously a D2 is incompetent in it. You barely know enough to get by. A D12, you'd be considered a master at those skills. So I picked for him to get things started here. I picked athletics. I wanted him to have stamina and have the ability to focus on that, running and things like that if he has to jump or something like that. I also picked guns because what kind of hunter are you without a gun? A gun is going to be D8. He's really good at firing weapons, whether it's a handgun or firearm or whatever you want to call it. He's just good at using guns. I also picked first aid when it came to tech. Oh, here we go. First aid. Ugh, why is that so big? Well, I guess that's what it is. First aid. And I gave him a D6 at first aid because he should be able to know how to patch himself up and do things like that. But let's see what we have on the list here that we can also pick. Let's see here. Ranged weapons. No. Science, survival, unarmed combat. I would probably pick unarmed combat as well for this as well. And I'll pick a D6 for that. Because he should be able to know how to defend himself when it comes to if he loses his gun or something like that. And let's see here. I'm going to give him a D6 in discipline. And discipline would be concentration, interrogation, intimidation, leadership, morale, and resistance type things. He's not really highly experienced, but he knows how to ask the right questions when it comes down to it going against something or someone. Actually, I made a mistake. I put the first aid as a specialty under medicine. I was wondering why I didn't see first aid. I wrote it as a sheet as first aid, but it was actually under medicine as a D6. I only wanted him to have first aid, nothing really else to be. All right, so he also has a perception, which I gave him another D8. I always figure perception would be the thing that he would need. And probably if I was going to go specialty, I would do it in investigation. But that gives me 40 points now, as I'm adding it here to make sure I have the right amount here. So that's 40 points right there. Pilot, which would cover things like commercial airliner, gunship, helicopter, hovercraft, jet fighter, zeppelin. I wanted him to actually have the ability to fly a plane, so he can have a private plane, or he could do something. I was thinking maybe he was an airline pilot or something like that, and I wanted to give him a D8 in that as well. I figured that was his career before moving on to hunting, so it gives him 48 points there. Now, if I do another one, which I'm going to do some lore, and since he's just starting out, he's going to get a D6 in lore. The reason why he's going to get a D6 in lore, and that brings him up to 54 points, is because he's just learning, but he's eager to learn. So he may not know everything just yet. So we're going to leave it as a general skill, as in he knows some lore. And actually, you know what? We're going to put it down as would make sense, ghosts. He knows a lot about ghosts because of what happened to him. He's done a lot of research, which got him into hunting. So there, we got that out of the way. 54 points. So we said we had 62. That means we have another 8 points left to fill up. I think we're going to pick drive. He's going to be alone most of the time, so he's going to want to know how to drive, and I'm going to put the D8 in that, and that gives us our 64 points. He should be able to know how to drive in general when it comes to a car or something like a motorcycle or a truck, general things like that. So now that we got that out of the way and we got the character pretty much filled up here, next thing you want to do is you're going to want to go through and pick, once you're done with all that, you're going to want to pick your basic stuff, like his name, his age, where he comes from, and things like that. You can go through and pick out the weapons because you're going to want them. And I believe the weapons in the gears on page 62 here. So 62, starting with the gear. And you can pick when it comes to what to do as far as, well, the GM should probably tell you what your lifestyle is. So let's see, every hunter maintains a lifestyle which keeps fed, blah, blah, blah. Lifestyle measures their type. Okay, so you have to basically pick the lifestyle. The GM will generally give you the lifestyle. They gave it to us, so I usually did working stiff or middle class as your lifestyle when it comes to gear, and the GM just let us pick very random things when it came to the gear. So he would have like a rifle, he would have a phone, he'd have a tactical knife, he'd probably have a shotgun, he'd have his car. You list all those things down, and the damage die by the dice is listed in there, and you're done. You could have some type of armor, such as like a leather coat or something, leather jacket, whatever, and your character's pretty much done. And that's how a supernatural character is made. From there, you can just jump right into playing the game and have fun with whoever you're playing with, and the GM will explain the rest as they go on. And if maybe people want, I could do a video on how combat works, depending on how well this video does. With that said, I'm going to head out. Don't forget to hit like, and keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everybody. Good night.
Don't ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They